let's just talk about one other coincidence that we have. It turns out Wilbur Ross, he was caught up in the Paradise Papers dump. I don't know if I would call it a dump necessarily. Revelations, maybe.
Right.
And Ross, people have made issue of the fact that he has extensive business ties with Putin's family. And then there's other stories that he's been lying about his money because he wants to be on the Forbes 500 list or something like that, which is also sort of just insane. But it also seems that while he's been Commerce Secretary, he's been slightly taking advantage of the fact that he's Commerce Secretary and basically wheeling and dealing with just about every part of the Commerce Secretary's portfolio. Would cover, right? I mean, have I got that right?
Well, so in his at the beginning in his ethics agreement, Wilbur Ross says, "I am divesting myself of all these interests, but I'm not going to divest myself of this one area." It was actually two areas, but one is around mortgage lending, which really isn't Commerce Department's purview. But the other one, he said, is I'm going to keep these investments in transoceanic shipping companies. Now, the Commerce Department is, and particularly in this administration, is concerned with issues of global trade, which involves putting items on a ship and taking them across an ocean. Some would say transoceanic shipping. The Commerce Department logo has a ship on it.
Is it one of Wilbur Ross's? Did he switch it out?
I don't think it's his yet. I don't think they've actually gotten the logo guy to make that change. But
we're waiting for the flag to come back, for the Commerce Secretary flag that will signify he's in the building.
Right. So it was ridiculous from the beginning that why would you let the Commerce Secretary still hold these investments in shipping? And indeed, one of the first actions of Wilbur Ross is he negotiated this deal to expand exports of liquefied natural gas to China, which is a huge untapped market for LNG. Now, it turns out one of the companies that he has an investment in, Navigator, has a huge fleet of ships that transport natural gas. So, I mean, the idea that he was allowed to do this to begin with is just ridiculous. It's a walking conflict of interest. And what I learned in my report is that the ethics officer who signed off on this, who said, yes, you can keep owning investments in shipping companies even though you're running the Commerce Department. This guy was an alternate ethics official within the Commerce Department who within the last 2 months, Wilbur Ross promoted, like himself. It's his job to choose his own ethics officer. So that
you've
really
got my kind of ethics.
Exactly.
Oh
it's a complete failure of the ethics process.
All right. Well, to be fair, let's put the logo back up there. All right. So Wilbur Ross owns a shipping company that he just okayed, but there's also an eagle and a lighthouse on the seal.
Yeah, the lighthouse is watching for the ship.
All right, fair enough. But does he own eagles?
So it's really 2 out of 3 of the iconography on the Commerce Department logo having to do with transnational shipping.
Wow. Well, I mean, one would, it seems like that would be an ethics violation, except for what they've done, it appears, is to just redefine what ethics mean, essentially, by hiring the guy in charge of ethics.
Right. And this is sort of a larger failure of just the entire structure of it. If you can have the head of the department choose his or her own ethics official, then that's just sort of an invitation to this kind of abuse.
Is there an IG, like an internal investigator associated with Commerce?
Well, yeah, there's an inspector general, and Senator Richard Blumenthal has called for an inspector general investigation of this whole business.
Does Wilbur Ross get to appoint his kid that or something like that? Like Wilbur Ross Jr., our inspector general?
Yeah, I think the inspector general is named Wilbur Ross, interestingly enough.
Well, and all right. Well, that is the I mean, there's that.
There is that. And it turned out, by the way, that American public media added to this by saying it's not just Navigator, which was the shipping company profiled in the Paradise Papers, but Wilbur Ross owns a stake in 75 different shipping vessels across multiple companies, many of which transport the types of goods that will be benefited by the opening of LNG exports to China.
Who better to run the Commerce Department? Who better? He knows it. He knows it.
That makes him smart.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's not dumb. I mean, if you have the ability to do that stuff, I mean, I guess that's what they call business, right? Makes it much easier. Well, David Dayen, as always, learned so much in what you're writing and talking to you about it. I can't thank you enough for coming on.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos